Welcome to Cake on Tuesday, where we spotlight the rule breakers, the underdogs who refuse to listen when everyone said it won't work. I'm Elizabeth Bieniek, and for the next 20 minutes, we're diving into another disruptive innovation story that proves sometimes the craziest ideas change everything. Today's guest is Jonathan Aberman, the CEO and co-founder of Hupside, a technology platform focused on human originality as the missing link to successful AI adoption. Also a VC veteran with over 25 years of experience helping launch and scale over 40 technology companies, Jonathan has advised startups, enterprise leaders, and policymakers on innovation and emerging tech. Jonathan, welcome to the show.
Well, it's great to be with you, Elizabeth. I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you and your audience. Thank you.
I am super excited to have you here. I think we were chatting just before the show that we were related in a past life. There's a lot of similarities I want to dig into here. But first, can you tell our audience a little bit about what sets your soul on fire about what you do?
So what sets my soul on fire, it's really interesting. Years ago, maybe 40 years ago, I was having a conversation with somebody who was interviewing me for a space in law school. And he spent about 45 minutes with me. And at the end, he said, you know, Jonathan, your biggest challenge is going to be you want to be good and you want to be rich. And your life is going to be about managing the two. And I thought it was interesting at the moment, but it's turned out to be absolutely right. I find that what really floats my boat is when I have opportunities to make a difference. And if you look at my career over the years, that is fundamentally the connective tissue, that and my entrepreneurial personality. I always find new ways to make a difference. But at the end of the day, that's really what it's about. I'm sure we'll talk about Hupside as the latest example of that. But for me, I find entrepreneurship answers the two big life questions. Why am I here and what do I do? And for me, being an entrepreneur and working with entrepreneurs is really what gives my life purpose and frankly fills me up so that when I work really hard, it doesn't seem like work to me. It just seems like life. So that's what floats me. That and I'm a guitarist. I love playing blues guitar as well.
Oh, awesome. Fun.
Yeah.
All right, let's dive into Hupside since you brought it up. I love the fact that you are building a business around measuring that really squishy return on investment in AI that everyone's struggling to chase right now. And you have a unique way of doing that. Tell us a little bit about maybe what prompted you to go after that and what your company does.
Well, what prompted me was wanting to make a difference. I've been a dean of a very unique business, computer science, and art design school that I launched. And I did that because I wanted to make sure that students understood how to work with technology and add value. And before that, I'd been in the venture industry for a long time. So when I left the dean job in 23 and went back to investing, a lot of my investments were around machine learning and then Gen AI. And I could really see very clearly this emerging problem, which is that Gen AI is a sameness engine. It just is. It homogenizes information and it basically creates novelty at scale. And as you say, people have a sense that there's something that humans can add on AI, but it's kind of squidgy. Well, when I found this technology at a couple of local universities, it objectively defines when somebody and how somebody is original over AI. It's a definitive objective metric. So for the first time, if people care to learn, and frankly, we should all know and all employers should know, you could find out what somebody's absolute originality competency is and how they exercise originality in comparison to AI. So it has huge implications. And Hupside, the founders, my co-founders, we saw the technology last year. The company's less than a year old. And we saw where the world was going and saw this as an opportunity to make a difference and also to provide an economic solution. That's the thing that's interesting about Hupside. I'm not just waving my arms and saying, hey, humans matter, because that's everywhere now. What I'm saying is, if you want to value your people, I can give you a metric to show you how they're valuable. More importantly, if you are willing to agree that many, many more people are, that AI sameness means that businesses can't compete unless they have value add, and value only comes from people, well, we provide an objective measurement so that you or I, we both use novelty to solve problems, right? We all do. That's human nature. But the difference is we do it differently. Some of us are really hyper creative. Some of us are really focal. Best example I give you as a musician is Jimi Hendrix or Eddie Van Halen, unbelievable guitarists, never took a lesson in their lives. Hugely expanders, as we would define them under Hupside. But then if you go to a bar, you'll hear somebody playing a Hendrix solo note for note, pitch perfect, right? That's still creativity. It's just a different kind. So yeah, Hupside is a mission company, but it's a business company. And what's happening now is universities, businesses, government have started to contract and buy the product because what they realize is that they bought a bunch of AI. They're teaching students to use AI in education, and they have to figure out how people can work with it. And we provide an objective metric. So it's warming my soul. And my old law school tutor is right. 40 years later, here I am again. Hey, you want to be good? You want to be rich? Yes, please. Like,
Yes, and so Hupside, you use this phraseology, original intelligence.
yes.
And I assume that's the play on artificial intelligence. But how do you come about coming up with that phraseology, and what exactly does that mean to you?
Well, it's actually very interesting. So you're a marketer as well, and many of your listeners are. When you create a new category of product, and this is a brand new way to measure something, it's objective. We actually use our own proprietary AI models to see how people perform against AI. It's really crazy, amazing, and it's objective. So it's brand new. And when we started to think about how we wanted to describe it, this was more than creativity. There are a lot of metrics to measure creativity, but creativity is all trying to figure out how people behave and how they create creativity. And we thought there were two problems with that. The first one was creativity carries baggage. We all think of Jimi Hendrix or Leonardo da Vinci when we think creativity. You don't think about the person who just comes to work every day and just gets stuff done well. You just don't. We needed to pull away, because if you're truly going to try to get the world to understand that everybody can add value, they just do it differently, we needed a new term. But then the other thing was, we said, well, wait a minute, every existing standard that exists today is all trying to measure behavior, right? And then so they all fall down now, because every rubric, every test, it can be gained by AI. If they're all fixed rubrics. So we said, all right, we need a way to describe what's an outcome-based test that ultimately is identifying the value. And we decided that in the world of AI sameness, the true value was originality. So you see, we sort of back into it, and we decided that we would describe this outcome, this characteristic, as original intelligence. Because here's the thing: humans working with AI have original intelligence. Humans on their own have original intelligence. We need to have a way to ultimately compare the two, but also reward people that use AI really well to enhance their originality, and also to reward
Right.
people who don't. You follow me? So that's what made this so revolutionary, and why we thought it was so important. And it's a brand new category. It's funny, as a VC, if I had $1 for everybody who came in my office and said, I have no competitor, I'd be really well off. But I find myself thinking, there really isn't a current competitor for what we're doing. It's kind of interesting.
It's funny how things come back around again like that,
Yeah,
huh?
it really is. Right? Look, I've been around entrepreneurs, advising entrepreneurs for a long time, and I've just started other businesses, but I started this one with my partners a number of months ago, and I think I was about a month or so in, and we were just not meeting deadlines. And I came home and just said to my long-suffering bride, Veronica, who's just amazingly supportive, I said, I can't stand this. Nobody's doing what I want to do. I'm all charged up. And she says, you used to tell your entrepreneurs how to calm down. Who are you going to call? And I said, oh, geez, I don't know. She said, you're not calling me.
Find somebody else.
No, she's great, but you can't. You need to have somebody outside of your marriage and your friendships to vent sometimes. You
Oh,
can't.
absolutely. I wasn't implying find somebody else for your partner. I'm find somebody else to call. So I wanted to ask a question too about a statement that I saw you post something on about the distinction between what makes businesses durable versus trend driven. So I'm really liking this because I see a lot of trend driven bandwagoning, specifically around AI. So can you expound a little bit about what this translates into, what this durability in the current age looks like?
No, I think the best visual analogy I can give you, have you ever been to a kid's soccer game and compare a kid's soccer game to a really well played soccer game, with adults? Kids soccer game, everybody's running at the ball, right? I mean, it's like a bunch of people at the ball, and everybody's running around. A well run football soccer team it's about almost poetic. It's amazing. The thing about people, all of us, is there's always going to be, particularly in momentum moments like AI or the internet bubble or other times, people run to the puck. They run to the ball. They run because they see that's where the opportunity is. It takes a lot of bravery to step outside and say, no, I'm not going to play that game. And Wall Street rewards momentum investing. VC rewards momentum investing. A lot of our society rewards it because if you capture it right, It's like lotto. You can be
You
spectacularly
look like a
wealthy.
rock star.
Yeah, you're a rock star. So there are a lot of conditions that discourage businesses from saying, well, I should not necessarily run where the ball is. I should run where my sweet spot is. It takes conviction to do that. And when you're in the middle of a hype cycle, it takes even more conviction, right? But what's interesting is if you look at the cycle of technology adoption, you look at the bubbles that have existed over the last 30 or so years, the one fundamental truth is there are people that make money during the bubbles, but then when the punch bowl gets taken away, the people who really make money in the long term are the people that take the technology from the bubble or the opportunity of the bubble and grow sustainable businesses. Google, for example, right? Facebook, they both came out of the internet downturn. There are going to be some spectacular AI businesses that are going to come out of this. Who and which one it'll be, I'm not sure. But if I'm looking to run a business right now, the big macro trend that's not being discussed enough, which will become obvious in the fullness of time, is that AI's homogenized information will create sameness. In the long run, if everybody's equally efficient, nobody differentiates. If nobody differentiates, they don't make money. So a smart entrepreneur, a smaller business, can benefit enormously by adding their own originality to technology and level the playing field with the big company. Big companies that are just approaching AI transformation like the Hunger Games, I think are heading in a really bad direction. They should be, if they're going to, I want to lose half my people, at least keep the right half. Just don't take a meat cleaver. And they don't have any metric right now other than ours. And so, but a well-run company isn't firing all the people. They're actually trying to figure out how to train their people to use AI better because, then you can actually be more productive and create better output.
I hadn't thought about the analogy of the current landscape in corporate America and the Hunger Games, but that's actually a fairly fitting analogy.
I'm sorry. I tend to live my life through analogies, but think about it. The roadmap seems to be, here's the technology, figure it out. Or here's the
Yeah.
technology, we'll do some prompt training, figure it out. And then, like Anderson saying, Accenture saying, look, if you don't use AI, you're going to get dinged in your review. That's fine. But the problem is, if you actually take the time to understand your work base, I can tell you from our data, roughly 10% will take the tools and figure out what to do. Roughly 10%. They're expanders. They'll figure it out. Everybody else needs a level of storytelling, salience, and they just do. So what happens is you throw the tools on the ground, you put governance in place, and then you wonder why nobody's using the tech. And the answer, or you start firing people because they're not using tech. And to me, that's Hunger Games. It's like every man and woman for itself. And it may be good for, President Snow's propaganda, but it's not good for the health of the civilization. So, yeah, I must admit, I was watching Hunger Games Catching Fire a few days ago, and it just it stuck. It's in my head like a brainworm now.
I feel like I have to watch it again with a new lens and think about
exactly. You see what I mean? It's sadly, just try not to think of the capital city as Silicon Valley. I'm not saying.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. Okay, anyway.
So you have recently got back into the driver's seat here with a company after investing in a lot of companies, and here you are launching yet another company. Is there anything that's really surprised you about this journey or pleasantly reminded you of, oh yeah, I love this part?
I think that the global answer is I love building businesses, and I've always had the kind of relationship with the founders that I work with that I've always been deeply involved. So that really has been very different, and it's very satisfying. There are moments like I remember a number of months ago, I was on a Zoom late at night, and I'm with this great product team working with me from a company called ArcWeb. They're phenomenal, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, God, this is my product. I'm designing a product. And I thought, boy, I hope people like it. It's really interesting. It's one thing when you're advising, but it is different when it's at the end of the day, you may have a team of people, they might they're great, but I'm making decisions about product functionality. And there's an element of, the feeling when you invite everybody to a party at 7 and everybody's fashionably late and you wonder if anybody's going to show up.
Is anybody going to show up?
Yeah. Right. Well, that's what it's like when suddenly it's your product. It's really
right.
I like it.
Right.
It's different.
Yeah, it's a different perspective for sure. You also talk about the leadership trade-offs in AI adoption. So we live in a time where people like to, we're on Cake on Tuesday, have their cake and eat it too. You talked about earlier the whole, do you want to be good? Do you want to be rich? Like, yes. And what do you mean by leadership trade-offs in AI adoption? And what do you think are some of those trade-offs that leaders need to be facing?
Well, I think that one of the fundamental issues that leaders have is leadership style. When you cut through it all, there really are two primary leadership styles. There's leadership through dictation and there's servant leadership. There are flavors. And I think that when I talk about Hunger Games, what I'm joking about, but trying to bring home is that an autocratic view of corporate engagement and corporate culture, which manifests in use the tools or you get fired, is ultimately is not the way servant leaders run organizations. And if you look at the history of performance and where corporate growth and business growth and small business growth comes from, or personal growth comes from, it's very clear that for most people, servant leadership is a more successful strategy. So to me, again, that's why I launched the company, because before this objective tool, if I was a servant leader, wanted to change management, for example, which is what AI adoption is, I really would have no basis for knowing whether you or I or somebody else had the capability to work with the tools without supervision or whether I needed to train them and how. It didn't exist. And I've always been a servant leader. So I said, because every entrepreneur does this, I built a product that I would buy. So for me, we are approaching AI. You talked about momentum. We're approaching like it's a technology bubble or a technology wave. It really is business school 101 and it's organizational development 101. You want to be an autocrat? Do you want to be a servant leader? And then adopting the organizational change tools to effectuate it. And my argument is that in the long run, people who are servant leaders and people who use AI with people in control, where AI is an assistant and not a dictator, are going to be more productive and are going to win in the long run. Once this current momentum bubble disappears and we go back to basics, and we will.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. What are you most excited about next? What's coming down the pike for you?
Well, this journey right now is incredibly interesting because as we saw a few weeks ago with the situation with Anthropic and the Department of Defense, the industry is really starting to, in the United States, is really starting to shake out in almost two camps. And I don't know which way it's going to go, but the monoculture of AI, the idea that AI is good for its own sake, you're clearly starting to see people starting to question it. And I think for me, that's really great because I want to live in a democratic society. I want to live in a society where people get to make changes and people can have fulfilling lives. And so if we can successfully share this view that I'm not against AI, I'm for AI, but I'm for humans using it to make themselves and AI better. So for me, the next year, in my heart, if we're successful, people who are writing about and talking about the need for human participation in AI will say, oh, I heard Jonathan talking, or, oh, I see Hupside. And we're able to contribute to the conversation because going back to my old law school tutor, if we accomplish that, then I accomplish my double missions as a privately venture-backed company making a difference. So that really excites me in the near term. That's going to keep me very busy for the next year. After that, we'll have to see. I own a lot of guitars and there's always another gig to play. So we'll figure it out. But for the next year,
that's awesome.
We'll see it.
You're not going to be bored.
No, I am not bored. No, not at all. Never, never, never.
So if people want to learn more about Hupside and follow along on this journey or follow you on this journey, where can they go? And I also understand you have a super fun quiz. Are you more original than AI? I mean, this sounds fantastic. Where can people go?
Humanupside.com is our company name, not surprisingly. You can go there. There's lots of information about business. We post things. There's always stuff to learn. But what Elizabeth's mentioning is we put a game up on our site so anybody can go and play the OIQ challenge, and you'll get to see how you perform in a creativity task compared to AI. And you'll think you'll find it really interesting. It'll tell you how you did, how you compared to the three big models. And it will also show you what your likely archetype is for how you approach originality. It's really fun. I tend to post more if people want to follow on LinkedIn than anywhere else. I just don't like X these days, and I do Facebook, but, not really. So Jonathan Aberman at LinkedIn, that's where you can find me, and the website. And you can always find me at Jonathan at Hupside if you want to check us out. And I just appreciate the chance to talk with you today.
Awesome. Thanks so much for being here, Jonathan. It was super fun. Thanks for joining another Cake on Tuesday celebration of beautiful disruption. Please share it, review it, and find more innovative stories at podcast.cakeontuesday.com. I'm Elizabeth Bienik. Be bold, stay curious. Now go have some cake.